All right, so Darren, turning it over to you.
All right. I see 2 Dan Marks. Look at that. One's frozen. Hey, there you are. Dan, as soon as your audio comes up, can you tell me if you got a hold of Guy or not and what the answer was to that? Is he going to be here? You're on mute, by the way.
Guy said he's going to be here.
All right. I have not heard anything from Chad. Has anybody heard anything from Chad about being here? Okay.
No, I just know Darren, he said he's been really busy, but even last meeting he came on, he was just a little late. So he might, he didn't decline. So maybe he's just late.
Okay. So with that being said, why don't we just throw it to Camarina for the review of action items?
Yes, let me share my screen.
Oh, hold on, Camarina, I've got it. Okay, you're ready to go.
And do we have 3 out of the 5? Is that considered a quorum? Yeah, I think it is.
Second. Yes.
Okay.
Mark's not going to be here today.
He's running late.
Okay. So for action item number 27, Darren will appoint a new subcommittee member from the Prior for Hire to fill Jamal's position.
That hasn't happened yet, but I'm working on it.
Great. Action item 28, Phil will submit topic submission regarding the insurance issues. And so Phil completed that task. Action item 29, Mark will send Dan Mark's topic submission to Phil. Phil, I emailed that to you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Action item 30, Tracy will look for the missing question in the survey that has been resolved. Action item 31, Tracy will send Mark and Gabby a clean version of the survey that was also completed. Action item 32, Mark William will ensure that the postcard is on the PBOP website. So Mark reported back that as soon as the postcards come back from the printer, they will be posted on the website. Action item 33, discussion about minimum compensation will be carried over to the next meeting, and we have that on our agenda today. So that has been completed. And action item 34, Chad Darrington will investigate a platform to keep a list of running ideas, and he created a Google group, so that is complete.
Even though it looks weird to Tracy.
It was the document. Did anyone open the document?
Yeah, that was just supposed to be gibberish so we could go in and play with it to see if everybody could
I did not have, okay. Gibberish it was.
It would not let me save my edits, otherwise you would have been thoroughly entertained. All right, so does anybody have any questions about action items? No? All right, well then we can.
Well, just could the person you're inviting to be on this subcommittee, could it be the woman who attended the last other meeting? Was that Erica?
I think it can be whomever I want it to be. It does not have to be an existing member of either committees, as I understand it.
Okay, I just thought she was fantastic. For whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Camarina, can you take down the screen? Oh, thank you.
I will say, Phil, that because
Someone let Guy in, he's trying to get in the meeting.
What?
Okay. He hasn't, Dan, he hasn't, I don't see that, it hasn't given me a sign that he's admitted.
But Phil, just so you know where I'm coming from on filling that last position is Jamal was from the NEMT committee or community, non-emergency medical transportation. And because this committee is supposed to be wide reaching, I probably am going to look for a non-TNC driver. as the other representative, so.
Okay.
And early on, you know, we had a representative from Travel Portland was on here. There was somebody else that was on here that went away. Maybe I'm thinking, I don't know.
Darren, there was another public at large member from the TNC.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember his name though.
Well, there was a couple. There were a couple who were the woman I'm thinking about had a union background. And she was the vice chair, became the chair of TNC.
She became the chair of the TNC driver committee?
Because the chairs, he quit. The guy, remember, he was an author and he also drove, and he was an actor, and he wrote a book. He was the chair of TNC. Then he stepped down. Her name was Alma. So Alma stepped into the role of chair, and she was also on fees and fares and did work with the survey.
Huh, okay. I don't remember that at all. Okay, so then let's move ahead. Did Mark need to be a part of the next one on the update of the survey?
Phil, were you were going to work with Gabby on the survey? Did you? And I thought Gabby, the two of you at some point were going to connect, and you were going to, she was going to be the one to set up the survey, and I thought you were going to connect with her.
This is the first I'm hearing that Gabby was going to be. I thought I was expecting to be put in touch with someone who'd be designing it, but I was never told who that was going to be.
That's Gabby.
I believe what was going to happen was Mark was going to take that internally to private hire before moving on to that step, so that everybody at the city could have a look at it and make sure that it's the direction that PBOT wants to go in. I don't see them having any problems, but it's just one of those steps that I think Mark wanted to accomplish before moving forward. So that's probably where we're at, and I'm sure that Mark will come back with something when he finally arrives. Hopefully he doesn't pull Darren Campbell and just not show up. But so then we'll go back to that one. Of course, the postcard for outreach is Mark Williams. I believe that the topic submission for the drivers to the minimum compensation one, I believe Mark had some information that he wanted to bring in regards to that, and it was going to be run by Chad Darrington anyway. So we're probably gonna have to come back to that one. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just skip ahead, because everything has either Chad or Mark on it, except for the topic submission in regards to insurance. It was submitted by Mr. Dan Mark. Are you ready to discuss that, Dan?
I thought we discussed it already.
This one was the one for the minimum or the maximum deductible. It is attached. It was the one that would create a deductible that was $1,000 or less. I don't recall did we discuss that one already? I know we discussed a different insurance one.
Well, it's we put it on here because this was the one that we wanted Phil to see. And then Phil, Darren, you might have heard prior when we were getting on the call that Phil, he had submitted another topic submission through TNC that is different from this one. So this particular topic submission is an action item for private for hire. Phil, I don't think we can combine yours with this one, because if yours is being presented for the first time, that would be consideration. And this one that Dan submitted is an action item.
Phil, can you tell us what yours does in a brief sentence?
Yeah, mine, unlike Dan's, mine addresses personal injury protection and monthly income replacement limits. So Dan's was more property damage.
So the state requires PIP insurance for TNCs now. Is it something to expand that or what?
Yeah, it's to increase the injury protection limits and increase the monthly income replacement limits.
Okay.
That sounds like disability insurance.
Yeah, it's personal injury protection. It's a little different. It's yeah. So as far as I can tell you a little bit about yours, Dan, and that is that Mr. Williams did hear back from the city attorneys, and he did also speak to, I think, 6 different jurisdictions around the country that are just flat out, we're not touching deductibles. It's not what we're going to do. And the city attorney agreed with him. And what I told Mark was, I think it's worthy for the full committee to have the discussion, at least have it be in public record so that maybe it will spark some interest from other people and go a little bit further. But my guess is that the director of PBOT is going to probably shut that one down, but I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't at least take the process to get it to the PBOT director and force them to make that decision as a committee. So that's where I'm at on that. Did you want to add anything to that, Dan, as far as, I think that's already been passed to the Private Hire Transportation Advisory Committee, correct? So it was just on the agenda because of Phil's not competing one, but additional one to see how those might.
Is it on the agenda for the other meeting? That's my question.
Yeah.
It is. It's on the agenda for the 28th for private for hire. And it's on the agenda, Dan, as an action item, so the committee will take a vote.
Perfect.
And so, Phil, I'm not sure if you've submitted, we have not had an agenda planning meeting yet for the TNC committee. Once we hold that agenda committee meeting, then Chad and Owen will determine if that topic submission gets forwarded to the meeting for consideration.
Okay.
Hey, Darren, if we could just take a couple of minutes for Phil to give us a synopsis of what's going on with his accident. He's living the nightmare right now. I sure like to hear what's going on.
Only if you show your face so I can see your reaction.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I want to hear too. Let's hear it.
All right. I'll try to be as brief as I can because I know I can go on and on. For those of you that didn't hear, on October 16th at 2:18 a.m., I was going eastbound on I-84 with cruise control on at 58 miles an hour in the center lane. 2 or 3 miles in, without passing anybody, I was hit in the back on the right side, on the driver's side on the left. The car spun out. I was hit in the driver door, pushed into the right lane where I was hit by a second car. So it was a 3-car accident at 58 miles an hour. I came to a stop in the middle. All 3 cars looked like they were totaled. Nobody got hurt other than some scratches. And I guess a couple of days later, I started having a sore neck and sore back and headaches and sleeplessness. Uber got involved very quickly because they sensed there was an accident, and they were really good about getting the insurance started right away. So to make a long story short, my primary insurance is the Allstate coverage through Uber. My backup coverage on my personal plan is also Allstate, and I have the TNC rider. So if that may come into effect, the first car that hit me is also covered by Allstate. And the second car that hit me is another insurance company. So this Sunday will be 4 weeks, and they still have not assigned fault. They've told me I'm definitely not at fault, but there are 3 different versions of the crash. So it's really an argument between the 2 other cars. So I'm waiting for fault. In the meantime, I got medical reasons why I can't work, and I've been reimbursed up to the monthly limit for the last 2 weeks of October and the full month of November, which is better than nothing, but it's still a lot less than I would have earned.
Is that the 3,000 a month?
Yeah, so basically I got 3,000, I already received 3,000 for October and 3,000 for November, whereas I've been averaging over $2,000 a week for the several weeks leading up to the crash. So you could see why I'm really not happy with the $3,000 a month limit. It penalizes full-time drivers over part-time drivers. And then the other thing is I'm still waiting for evaluation on what my car was worth from Allstate. So, it's very nerve-wracking not knowing how much money I'm going to have to put towards a replacement car. So that's kind of, oh, and then my adjuster at Allstate through Uber has been out sick for the last week and a half. So I'm not really getting to hear from her. So anyway, that kind of.
What is your deductible on that, Bill? Has anybody charged you a deductible yet?
Well, no, I haven't. They haven't valued my car yet, but through Uber, it's $2,500. And what I've been told is my backup insurance, which is also through Allstate, will make up so that deductible is lower. So if I have a $600 deductible through my Allstate, that policy will pick up the difference between $600 and $2,500. So it'll provide me with $1,900 more. And then I've also been told if it's usually Allstate versus Allstate, so if they find the first car at fault, they usually ignore the deductible altogether.
Are you seeing regular medical care for the injuries you got?
Yes. So I saw my own primary care physician who recommended physical therapy and chiropractic. I'm still waiting to get into the physical therapist. Appointments are 4 to 6 weeks out. I have started seeing a chiropractor, and the chiropractor recommended a massage therapist. The coverage for all of that through Uber's PIP maxes out at $15,000. And I don't think that's going to be enough. So at this point, I'm still trying to find out if my backup insurance, which is also through Allstate, will pick up more than if I exceed the $15,000. And I'm not sure what happens once fault is assigned to one of the other drivers.
So was the other Allstate insured individual, in your opinion, I know they haven't assigned fault, in your opinion, at fault, or was it the third party insurance company?
It was the second one. It was the first person to hit me. It was, yes, the Allstate person.
Was there alcohol involved?
No. Well, the officer didn't check. Apparently, one of the delays is they're waiting for the police report. And when I filed my police report, first of all, nobody told me that I had to file one. So I wound up hearing that about 2 weeks after the crash. So when I filed mine after 2 weeks, I was told by the person at, the office where you file it, that they're like a month behind in reviewing the forms that we submit for the crash. So I really don't know what they're going to get from the police report, because the cop who showed said we don't do a report.
What? Is that an Oregon accident report, or is that a police report about the accident?
Oh boy, I'm not sure which of those two they're requesting.
So an Oregon accident report is required by all drivers to file, and they have some arbitrary number, like everybody's a expert at auto repair, that it's like if an accident totals over $1,000, then you have to submit one of those reports.
Yes, that's what I did about 2
Okay.
weeks after the accident.
So that one's not, it has nothing to do with the police. That one goes through DMV.
Okay, so the policeman told me that he's not doing one. When he showed up, he said, I'm just here to facilitate the moving of the cars off the road and to facilitate the exchange of insurance cards. But my tow truck driver was able to give me a PD case number, which I have written down, that nobody's really asked for.
Yeah. All right. Dan, Dan's on the phone. Dan's ignoring Phil. Can you believe that?
So
I think he caught it all, though. All right, well, Guy, do you have any other questions about Phil's accident?
No, but I mean, it sounds like things are, I mean, moving ahead. I mean, these crashes, when you're involved, and it doesn't matter if you're involved with Uber or not, it's just working with the adjusters and stuff. It's frustrating, and it just takes time. This is the reason why every crash that I have been in, and I mean, I've been in my lifetime probably a small handful. In the times I was injured in those small handfuls, I got an attorney, and the attorney deals with all this.
oh, shoot.
There you go.
You know, Phil,
I'm not ignoring you. I was on the other line. I had a customer call. Hey, look, Phil, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad they're giving you some kind of money. Something's better than nothing.
I can hear everybody. My screen went blank.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my phone. I have to go to a different place in order to talk. I can't unmute my picture, so
Host
I'm still here.
No, I'm gone. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
But my picture's gone.
We can see you, Phil.
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, I can't see anybody else. I wonder what happened.
I
So
can
if
see
you
it.
go to the menu bar and go to the three dots, there's a adjustment that stops incoming video. So you might have hit that somehow by accident.
Yeah, it says stop video down there.
All right, so I'm glad that Phil's okay and things are moving ahead. So now that Mr. Williams is in the room, and I've already taken a bunch of guff from our committee coordinator about missing a planning meeting yesterday or whatever day it was. So you don't have to go there, Mark. There's a whole lot of stuff on this agenda that's got your name next to it.
I wasn't going to say anything about the other meeting the other day. I knew you were busy. In fact, Tracy is the one that said he's busy today. It's a big day. And I said, you're absolutely right. And you know what? I got his back. Let's get this done.
I'm sure that's exactly how it went.
It did, didn't it, Tracy? It really did.
Okay, so Mr. Williams, are you ready
Yes.
to talk about the things that you're on the agenda to talk about?
You know what? I've been so busy. Yes, I am. So
Let's just throw it
yes.
out there. So you're going to update on the survey for everybody?
Which one?
The one that Phil has submitted to Private for Hire, and you are going to take it back to the peeps at Private for Hire and have them all look at it and say, this is excellent work, Phil. And then you're going to connect Phil with Gabby, and they're going to go to work putting this thing into motion. Am I right on all of that?
You are right, and I have not done that yet.
Okay.
I think we're going to be after the holiday before we do that, because I got a lot of people in and out of the office right now because of Thanksgiving. So I think right before or right after the holiday, the first couple of weeks of December, we should be able to get that done. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it together the best that we can. And then we'll schedule a meeting with Phil and then go through it and adjust the logic accordingly,
Okay.
just for the sake of time.
Sounds excellent. Would you like to update on where we're at with the postcard for outreach?
It is with P&D printing. They don't always tell us how long it's going to take to get it done, but as soon as they're done printing it, I guess what we could do is, you know, what I offered to do is mail out a couple of stacks to a few people, and then we'll put the posting with the card on the website so people can print off more copies. I mean, it'll be a regular piece of paper, but Phil, you just need to tell me once we get them. I think initially I ordered 600. So we want to do stacks of 100 to a few people. You just tell me where they want to go. And we'll pack them up, but they're over at printing and distribution now.
Perfect. Any questions on that? All right. So the next one that's got your name on it, it's also got Chad Darrington's name on it, is topic submission for the minimum compensation of the 75-25 split. It is a discussion action item for the 12-12 TNC driver committee, but it's on our agenda. So I'm assuming that you have something you wanted to update regarding this. Would I be
So
correct?
we talked to the city attorney, our city attorney. I also reached out and spoke to the folks in Seattle. Okay, their ORS or whatever they call them. Obviously, it's a little bit different. So there's two arguments here. Okay, one argument is that ORS that preempts the city from regulating rates only applies to employees. Okay, the legal not to go and take any risk interpretation of that is that applies to any compensation paid to anyone that's working to receive compensation, okay, even if they're an independent contractor. So that's the way our legal team looks at it, okay? But I did share Seattle's interpretation of it from their policy guy and the way the bill was written in Seattle or written in Washington. So my recommendation is to move it through the committee. If the committee makes a formal recommendation, we take it to the director. And at that time, we would obviously share, here were the legal concerns. And here's what we heard from our colleagues up in Seattle, and then see what he decides to do.
And Bill and Guy and any other TNC drivers out there, if you're interested in adjusting that ORS code a little bit so that it has some clarification that the city would accept, I can help you with that process. I won't do it because I'm not a TNC driver and it wouldn't look good, but I can help you with the process.
So,
Okay.
and, I mean, what makes this extremely a complicated policy initiative is that I would assume the city doesn't want to set a precedence that this is going to apply to every independent contracted worker that's out there. You know, because once it's done for Uber and Lyft or a TNC driver, then you're going to have your DoorDash drivers going, where's our minimum compensation? And everybody else that's, you know, in the gig economy. It's not something that the city typically gets involved in. The minimum, what do I want to say? The minimum wage rate that's established in the city of Portland, that's established at the state level. It was not established by the city of Portland, just an FYI.
Bill?
I wish
You knew
Chad
that,
was
right?
here because he's really expert in this and he's been around longer. But I think one of the things that may distinguish Uber and Lyft drivers from DoorDash is that there's a history going back a number of years where, you know, that's the way revenue was split when they were granted access to the city.
Mhm. And we went back, well, personally, I went back and because Darren had made a comment that he thought that came up during council, and that's what they said in order to get city council to approve the revisions in code. So I went back and listened to the two council sessions, and I didn't hear that anywhere.
Can I clarify one thing, Mark?
You mentioned that it could have been the task force. Yes.
I mentioned it was the task force. I didn't think it was.
Task force.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying either way, but that would have been something that we could
Everybody
have
was here and
used.
everybody heard you call me a liar, and it's fine, Mark. All right.
That's not what I said. You know, I mean, it's still it's a tough one, Phil. I know that Uber and Lyft used to pay a larger percentage when they first started here. I get it. I do know they did that, and that's one of the things that, you know, the Bureau's been hearing since day one, is that the deal keeps changing. I'm just not certain that that the city's going to want to get into the business of regulating.
It's
Correct.
just as independent contractors, we don't have a voice. There's no negotiating voice. They can just dictate terms. And the only choice we really have is to not work. And it's really, they've described themselves as not being a transportation company. They describe themselves as, you know, a platform provider that we're choosing to pay them to help connect us with riders. And if that's the case, we should be able to negotiate how much we want to pay for their service.
Well, I think as an independent contractor, I mean, I guess you could try to negotiate what they pay, but and I don't want to get out of my lane and get in the lane of someone at council or the bureau director. I'm just giving you what I believe my assumption would be as to what the city's position would be on this. We've never told any other provider out there how much they need to pay their independent contracted drivers, ever.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should have somebody that represents all the independent contractors so we can speak with one voice in a negotiation with the TNCs.
But that's, Phil, that really is a difficult task. And I would think, I mean, it's been tried before to organize drivers. And so that's a big topic or a big issue. I know that the feeling is we should have one voice and talk and all that. It's not very realistic when it comes to independent contractors getting all together like that. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but unless you have a big paid staff that's going to make that work and create a big association of Lyft and Uber drivers,
I hear what you're saying. I think Chad had mentioned that he had I think it was Chad that was also talking about perhaps recommending a new type of worker classification.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, but that would be at the state level.
Yeah, that's at the state level. And it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen, what's going to come out of the labor commissioner now.
That's a good point too, yeah.
And I know that when Val Hoyle was labor commissioner, she had actually discussed kind of behind closed doors about a third classification of employment status that was some sort of hybrid between employee and independent contractor, without going into much detail. And I don't think she had detail. I think she was hoping that she could bring a bunch of people together that were smarter than me and her and figure out a way to do that. But I see that as being a viable option in the future. It's just the right people need to be in the room to make that decision, to make it a priority. So for whatever that's worth. So with that being said, do you have something else, Phil?
no, it looked like Dan was starting to say something, but he's muted.
I knew it would be a tough sell from the beginning, but I feel it's worth a try. And, you know, maybe something will come out of it, but maybe it won't. But, you know, I don't, you know, it's not right. You know, there's I mean, it's not right. And so, you know, let's just see what happens. We can talk about it. We can run it up the flagpole and let's just see what happens. But
Yeah.
it's worth trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a fairly simple proposal to understand. rather than getting into all these weird formulas and doing all this, pulling all this stuff, oh, well, somebody made this much on November 13th in 2021, and they need to make, bringing all that stuff. This is very simple and easy to understand and easy to grasp. And I think that has a lot going for it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Are we done with that one?
Wasn't I supposed to check on insurance stuff too?
Yeah, it's coming up here.
Oh, okay.
So the next
No
one.
hurry, I just bought mine on the 7th, so I got another year, so you got time.
Dan doesn't care about insurance. He's covered. So the other one is also a discussion item that's going to be at the 12/12 PNC Driver Committee, which has to do with maximum seating requirements. Mark, Chad Darrington was also supposed to be a co-inspiration to us all on this one, but it looks like just you are going to talk about it. I don't know if you found new information to share with the committee or what.
And nothing new from what I had already mentioned to you in our other meeting. So I basically took this this topic to our city attorney and said, hey, this is what the committee's thinking about. What are your thoughts on this? And the thoughts of PBOT, I should say, is why not? This should be an option for all drivers. So that's why I think that this is something that should be moved through both committees. It would not be a requirement, but why not have drivers have the ability to say, hey, I'm not real comfortable having passengers in the front seat. So for that reason, I want to opt out. Okay. And so they feel like it is a driver safety issue. It isn't addressed in code in any way, shape, or form right now. So it's possible that if the committees bless this and we take it to the director for review, it could be implemented as an admin rule.
Okay. So go ahead, Guy.
To get a regular Lyft and an Uber X, they advertise 4 people now, and I mean, and I could see a lot of resistance from Lyft and Uber when they say this, because they advertise their product as being maximum of 4 people. So some drivers have 3, some
Who
have
cares what Uber
4.
thinks?
What's that?
I said, who cares what Uber and Lyft thinks?
I'm
They're
just
not driving
saying.
people around. They're not driving people in their cars.
Okay, I'm just saying you're going to have a lot of resistance from them.
Yeah, well, of course you
The
are.
average ride is not 4 riders.
And Guy, what will more than likely have happen is you're not going to get everybody's just going to say, okay, I'm not going to take a front seat passenger anymore. Probably going to happen is you're going to have an additional attribute on the app that you can choose that, hey, my name's Phil Berger and I don't want to take front seat passengers, so don't send me those rides. And then you're going to be considered a 3-passenger vehicle rather than a 4. So he won't even come up on the app as a 4-passenger option. That's my guess. That's my guess as to what they would do if this was thrust upon the TNCs to make work.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm not really in favor of this. I mean, if someone wants to sit in the front seat, let them sit in the front seat. What's the big deal? We did it before. Why is this a big deal now?
Just a safety thing.
What do you mean safety thing? What I mean, what's
some people feel safer without somebody sitting in the front seat. I think it comes down to personal choice. So
well, I think if they really feel that unsafe with someone in the car, then maybe driving a rideshare is not the job for them. That's how I think.
Yeah.
Let them sit wherever they want to sit.
All right. Well, so I will tell you, Guy, we are not here to rehash the merits of this. It was more to just get an update from Mr. Williams on PBOT's perspective moving forward. But make sure that you go to the TNC Driver Committee on December 12th because it will be up for discussion in that meeting, and that's the time for you to discuss. How about that? Does that work?
It should also be mentioned, Guy, in case you're not aware, part of the recommendation that Chad came up with is for those drivers that do not opt out of having somebody in the front seat, that additional revenue be provided to the drivers that do accept people in the front seat. So there will be an incentive for drivers to not check the box.
Okay, I just think we're gonna get a lot of resistance from Uber and Lyft on this, and I think it's just gonna go nowhere, so.
Well, I would
say, Guy,
encourage you to vote yes anyway to help protect the drivers that do choose to opt out.
and
Okay,
Guy,
well.
I don't see a single thing on this agenda today that Uber and Lyft won't have an issue with. So they're
Well,
gonna have an issue with just about everything we pass out of this.
I
meeting.
just want to make it public. I'm not in favor of it. I mean, if 4 people want to get in my car, and granted, your average rider is 1 to 2 riders. That is your average rider. Once in a while, you'll get 4. Once in a while, you'll get some in the front seat. So I don't see why this is such a big deal.
Why would you be
All right.
opposed to somebody else opting out?
Okay, so
Because,
have the discussion on December 12th in the
Moving
TNC.
okay,
on.
all right,
We're done here.
okay.
The risk you run of having the discussion at the public meeting is that there are other people that can vote. In other words, the people that are representing the general public and the people with disabilities, and you run the risk of it getting voted down as
But this
opposed to
has
us
gotta
going
go-
in unified.
It's got to go through that process anyway. This
Yeah,
is
it's gotta
just
go
a
through the-
subcommittee.
Yeah, it's gotta go.
You know,
That's-
I know we're trying to move on, but you just brought up a good point, Phil. It's that, it's the, the ADA responsibility. So what if somebody has a disability and their disability, they would be more comfortable riding in the front seat? Are you gonna say no? And then,
No, they would be assigned to a driver who hasn't checked the box. So they wouldn't even know that they're not being rejected. They're being matched with someone who's willing to take them.
All right, so with that, we're gonna end the discussion on that one. Mr. Williams, we already discussed this because it was Mr. Mark's topic submission in regards to insurance and deductibles and moving the deductible to $1,000 or less. You had information on that, which I think I probably already shared to the committee, but I want to hear it from your mouth, not mine.
We just went out and did some research. So we've got a distribution list, email list with several regulators around the country, and no one regulates insurance. Okay. No one in the country, I shouldn't say in the country, but out of the 24 or so regulators that we contacted, they don't regulate insurance deductibles. And I said that wrong at first. They regulate insurance, but they don't regulate insurance deductibles. So then I reached out to one of our insurance companies that works with a lot of our taxi companies. And I said, what exactly does this ride share coverage cover, right? And Phil, you probably already know this. It covers period 1. That's what it's for. It's period 1 only, and it's to protect you with some sort of coverage while you're in period 1. So I asked them, well, is there a way that I can pay extra? Can I pay some extra money to get some additional coverage in period 2 and 3? Can I pay extra to get some coverage with dealing with the deductible? So he reached out to a rideshare insurance expert, and the short answer is no. You just get period 1 coverage and period 1 coverage only. The minute you're in period 2, that insurance policy, in his words, was like it's no longer active or needed, because now you're covered by the TNC insurance policy in periods 2 and 3.
But we're talking about 2 and 3.
I know, but I thought there would be some hope if a driver could get rideshare coverage that would assist with the deductible, because that's part of the issue here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Within period 3 in particular.
Yeah, in any period. I mean, if you got to pay a deductible while you're operating as a TNC, wouldn't it be nice if you could buy an insurance policy that would cover 50% of it? But I guess that doesn't exist.
No, well, you have that on your personal on your personal auto insurance.
but you don't have it in 2 and 3. If you're in an accident in period 2 and your insurance company finds out that you were driving for Uber, they're going to require Uber to resolve the claim because you were driving commercial.
So this is exactly what's happening with me now,
Right.
right? So I get both of those for the deductible. So my personal insurance will make up whatever my deductible is. They will pay between. So I have a $600 deductible, and the Uber insurance is $2,500. So when all is said and done, and I get my check from the Uber insurance, my personal insurance will pay me the $1,900. The difference between my
So
$600.
you gotta clarify that your personal insurance is your TNC rider. Because if you just have regular personal insurance, that doesn't
Yeah.
kick in
Yeah.
period 2 and
Yeah,
3,
yes,
unless
but
you
the
have
rider costs me $3 a month.
So they're reimbursing you the difference of the deductible?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, that's not what this guy told me.
That's what's happening. So if I had a $250 deductible or a $500 deductible, I would get the difference between the $2,500 that Uber Allstate is not paying me and whatever my deductible is. I mean, I'm expecting it. I mean, that's what I was told by, my guy who said, we're your secondary coverage.
Well, let me know when it happens. I'd be really curious to know.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully soon.
All
Yeah.
right. So is that everything on that one? Okay, so lastly on this list is hard for me to interpret. What is the status on the 10/13/2022 Chad submitted topic submission to improve third-party ordered TNC rides?
Darren, I just had that, this was submitted October 13th, and it's just been hanging in my file. And I didn't know if we've taken any action, if all of you have taken action. And it says, this is a duplicate of Darren Campbell's topic submission to the Fees and Fares Subcommittee.
Yeah, we discussed it. Didn't we pass that out to the TNC driver committee? The third party one?
I can't remember where we're at. That's why. Camarina, do you have any recall?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Which one are you looking at?
So the one that, remember we discussed it, it had to do with third party rides. My example was, bartender calls for somebody that's intoxicated.
Oh, yeah.
We had the discussion, and I don't remember if Phil submitted one that kind of updated it, or if we were just going with mine. It seemed to me we passed it.
Ooh,
Mr.
did.
Berger, do you remember that
Well,
one?
I think I did. I don't know where it is.
you mean, you recall passing it in this committee?
Yeah, I thought I was going to the TNC driver committee.
Well, my memory is not all that great, but what I recall is I remember Lyft responded to this at one of the meetings. It was the last TNC drivers meeting. Lyft responded to this, and I can't recall if Uber did or not, but I remember Clayton saying that, yes, we do allow it. It's built into the app. I believe Uber has it built into the app too. And I remember Chad also asked a question about underage passengers, and they said, yeah, it's against the policy. We don't allow you to take underage passengers without an adult. But I don't remember if it got moved as a recommendation to an action item.
Well, Mark, then what I'll do is I'll move it over to the TNC, and when we have our agenda planning meeting for December, we can bring it up with Owen and Chad.
Okay.
But
Chad
it just,
probably knows.
Yeah, again, it said topic submission to fees and fares, and that's why I brought it up.
All right.
I just
Okay.
went through the minor business with my insurance company. And, you know, the disclaimer was no Uber, Lyft, Wings, no DoorDash, Amazon, and no kids. And I'm like, hold it, stop with the kids. I have customers where I take their kids to school and pick them up from school. I have, you know, unaccompanied minors. And so she said, well, let me check on that. And she came back, she goes, no, I'm sorry, it was my mistake. As long as it's a reservation, you're fine, you can take kids. So I think that it's a Uber policy, but not their insurance company's policy. Follow me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we take minors all the time for school. I mean, we have school contracts where we take kids all the time.
Of course.
Or we do
Right.
sports team transports, all that stuff.
Yeah, but you know, you hear about that new coverage that some places are requiring. Washington County has that new coverage that they want all the NEMT providers to have. Have you heard about it?
The sexual.
No,
Yeah, it's what's it called, Darren? Is it sexual molestation coverage or something?
Yeah,
like
but that's
that?
not new. They had it for all the wheelchair vans at $1 million policy cap, and then they jumped it to 2 million.
Oh,
And it became so expensive that guess what? Radio Cab went, we're not going to be permitted in Washington County anymore for wheelchair vans. So they just lost, 15 vehicles to service their disabled community out in Washington County. Now, I will tell you that I did speak to, just to go off on a small little tangent in regards to that, I did speak to their Director of Health and Human Services, who's saying it was, they have a risk assessment group or committee or task force or something that recommends this stuff to the county, and that they recommended this to the county based on an issue that involved Metro West. And she, after talking to me, she said, well, I'm gonna resubmit this for, to have them take another look at it. So it could get removed or sent down or whatever, but some of these regulators are just out of control, Mark. Don't go there. Don't be out of control like that. Don't learn from Washington County.
hey, it's going to be up to 12 commissioners in the future.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about that since we have just a couple minutes and we don't have anything else on the agenda. Do you have any idea what the implementation is of the new charter looks like? Timelines or nobody
Not
does?
yet. I mean,
I heard it was going to take 4 years to implement it.
Well,
no.
aren't they going to elect like 3-3-3 so that they're staggered?
For 2020, no, this will go into effect 2025, January 2025. So they will have to be in a position to have an election, I'm assuming this time in 2024, and have all their districts divided and have all that other work done by this time in 2024, so we can all vote. So they have basically a couple of years to pull it together.
Are you gonna put in for the city manager job?
No. No.
Well,
I'm gonna
Dan,
be a
Mark and I have already
commissioner.
decided we're gonna put your name in for the city manager job.
Yeah.
I want to be
I'm
an
gonna be a
alderman.
commissioner. Yeah.
I want to be a commissioner.
Everybody can be a commissioner.
So
All right.
Darren, I wanted to remind everyone that our next meeting is on Thanksgiving. I'll be canceling that meeting, and then that makes our next meeting December 8th.
Okay. That's good to know. So does anybody have any parting comments before we adjourn this meeting 33 minutes early?
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
If
All
you're
right.
a vet, thank you for your service.
So
Bye, everyone.
with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right.